Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Desert Sports YouTube channel. And today we are reviewing round three of the NRL 2023. Now, what a round three we saw indeed. We saw my Warriors going 3-0 and were first on the table, but we saw some absolute amazing games. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below what you thought of round three. So, the first game was on Thursday night, which was the Canberra Raiders versus the Bulldogs. Now this was a wet game in Canberra, but it was a pretty wet game. So the conditions were not that great, but yeah, the Bulldogs getting the win over the Raiders, 14 points to 10, the final score. So this is how the game went. So 4 minutes into the game, Savilo Tamali scores a try for the Raiders. So the Raiders make it 4-0. Plus Sanders gets the conversion over. So 5 minutes on the game, it was 6-0 to the Raiders over the Bulldogs. Then about like 5 minutes later, in the 11th minute, the Bulldogs strike back. Connor Tracy getting the try with Stephen Crichton missing the conversion. So it was now 6-4 Raiders over the Bulldogs. Then in the 16th minute, the Bulldogs, Stephen Crichton goes for the penalty, and Stephen Crichton gets it over to make it 6-4. So the Bulldogs level this game 6-4. Then with that, in the 17th minute, Josh Papali'i went to the sim bin. So he was on the sim bin. So basically, the Raiders were down to 12 men for the next 10 minutes. Then 2 minutes later, in the 19th minute, Joseph Tarpany goes on report. So like 2 minutes after 2 minutes after Josh Papali'i got a sin bin, um, Joseph Tarpany now goes on report. And then with that, in the 20th minute, the Bulldogs go for the penalty, and Stephen Crichton gets that over to give the Bulldogs the lead 8-6. So the halftime score was 8-6 to the Bulldogs against the Raiders. But what a first half! It was a pretty interesting first half. Then the second half got underway, and the second half looked pretty dull because no one scored in like the first 20 minutes of the second half. But no points were scored in the second half until the 71st minute when Preston scores a try for the Bulldogs with Stephen Crichton getting over to make it 14-6. And then in the 74th minute, Savilo Tamali scores the second try of the game for the Raiders with Ethan Sanders missing the conversion. But the full-time score, the Bulldogs beating the Raiders 14 points to 10. What a game that was indeed. Then we move on to the two Friday games, which was Roosters Panthers and Storm Broncos. Now, Roosters Panthers, what a game. The Panthers absolutely demolishing the Roosters. 40 points to 4. The final score. It was in that game, 40 points to 4. So this is how the demolition started. So 4 minutes into this game, Robert Toyer scores the try for the Roosters with Sam Walker missing the conversion. So it's 4-0 to the Roosters, and that was the only points the Roosters scored in that game. Because then from the 5th minute to the 80th minute, it was just all Panthers domination. Because in the 15th minute, Panthers get a penalty. Oh, no, sorry. In the 15th minute, the Panthers get a try. Tom Jenkins with the try with Nathan Cleary missing the conversion. So it's 4-all between the Roosters and the Panthers. Then in the 20th minute, Brian To'o scores the try for the Panthers with Nathan Cleary getting the conversion over. So it's now 10-4 to Penrith. Then in the 23rd minute, Dylan Edwards scores a try with Nathan Cleary getting it over. So it's now a 12-point lead for the Panthers, 16-4. Then 5 minutes later, in the 28th minute, Tom Jenkins scores his second try for the Panthers with Nathan Cleary getting the conversion over. So it's now 22-4. So the Panthers were storming away in this first half. And then 5 minutes before halftime, in the 35th minute, the Panthers get a penalty. They go for the kick, and Nathan Cleary gets it over to make the halftime score. The Panthers had a 20-point lead at halftime, 24-4, the halftime score. Then the second half got underway. And only three things happened in the second half, which was three tries. Whereas in the 45th minute, Tom Jenkins scores another try. That's his hat trick. So Tom Jenkins got a hat trick in this game for the Panthers with Nathan Cleary missing the conversion. So it's now 28-4 between the Panthers and the Roosters. Then in the 65th minute, Tom Jenkins scores four tries in the game. You never really see an NRL player score four tries in this game, but Tom Jenkins scoring four tries in this game, but Nathan Cleary getting the conversion over, so it's now 34-4 between the Panthers and the Roosters. Then in the 71st minute, Dylan Edwards scores the second try for the Panthers in this game with Nathan Cleary getting the conversion over. So the full-time score, the Panthers beating the Roosters 40 points to 4. Then the next Friday game was the grand final rematch from last year's grand final, which was the Melbourne Storm at home against the Broncos. Now, the Broncos winning this game, they were down. Just remember, the Broncos were down 14-0 at halftime, but then the Broncos come back in the second half to win 18 points to 14. But this is how the game went. So no points were scored in the first 20 minutes, but in the 22nd minute, Lava Failango scores the try for Melbourne with Harry Grant getting the conversion over. So Melbourne 6-0 with 17 minutes left in the first half. Then in the 37th minute, Harry Grant gets a penalty over to make it 8-0. So with 3 minutes to go, it was 8-0 to Melbourne. Then just before halftime, in the 40th minute, Joe Chan scores a try for Melbourne with Harry Grant getting the conversion over. So it's now 14-0 to Melbourne over Brisbane. So basically, it was a good half of Melbourne, not a good half for the Brisbane Broncos. But this is when the Broncos, then in the second half, this is when the Broncos made their comeback because at 1 minute into the second half, Jordan Licky scores the try for the Broncos with Reece Walsh getting the conversion over. So the Broncos back in this game, 14-6. Then 10 minutes later, in the 51st minute, Jordan Nareki scores the second try of the game for the Broncos with Reece Walsh getting the conversion over. So now the Brisbane cut this lead down to two, so it's 14-12. Now remember, Melbourne were leading by 14 points at half time. So it's 14-12 between Melbourne and Brisbane. Then in the 58th minute, Tony Staggs scores a try for Brisbane with Reece Walsh getting the conversion over for the Brisbane to come back from being 14-0 down at halftime to beat the Melbourne Storm again, 18 points to 14. The Broncos get their first win of the season. But yeah, Melbourne looked good in the first half, but yeah, they just looked bad in the second half. Then we move on to Super Saturday. There was three matches. The first game was the Knights versus my team, the New Zealand Warriors, and my team, the New Zealand Warriors, going 3-0, 3 wins, 0 losses. The Warriors smashing the Knights 38 points to 12. The Warriors go bang, bang, and bang. 3-0. We're top of the table. What a game it was indeed. So 4 minutes into the game, Fletcher Hunt scores a try for the Knights with Sandon Smith getting conversion over. So it's now 6-0 to the Knights against the Warriors. Then in the 14th minute, Aaron Clark scores a try for the Warriors with Tanner Boyd missing the conversion. So the Knights had to lead by 2. But there was 6-4 to the Knights over the Warriors. Then about 12 minutes later, in the 26th minute, Warriors get a penalty. Tanner Boyd goes for it, and he gets it over with the Warriors leveling up this game to 6-4. Then the 30th minute, Jackson Ford scores a try for the Warriors with Tanner Boyd getting the conversion over. So the Warriors have the lead finally in this game, 12-6. And then just before halftime, and then in the 33rd minute, Fletcher Hunt goes to Simbin first. So Newcastle are down to 12 men for the next 10 minutes of this game. And then what's it called? And then Leka Halasima scores a try for the Warriors just before halftime in the 39th minute with Tanner Boyd getting the conversion over. So it's 18-6 to the Warriors. And with that try, Phoenix Crossland went on report for Newcastle. So the halftime score was 18-6 to the Warriors over the Newcastle. Then in the second half, and then 12 minutes into the second half, in the 52nd minute, James Fisher Harris scores a try with Tanner Boyd getting the conversion over. So it's now 24-6 to the Warriors. over Newcastle. And then 3 minutes later, in the 55th minute, Tanner Boyd scores a try, with Tanner Boyd converting his own try to make it 30 points to 6. Then in the 66th minute, Greg Mashu scores a try for Newcastle, with Sand Smith in the conversion over. So it was 30-12. So Newcastle, they were down by 18 points. There was little hope for them to come back. But in the 69th minute, Dane Gagai went on report. I think it was for a late hit on Tanner Boyd. And then also 76 minutes, Trey Mooney sorry. It wasn't Dane Gagai, sorry. Trey Mooney in the 76 minute goes to Simbin for a late hit on Tanner Boyd. So it wasn't Dane Gagai who did a late hit on Tanner Boyd. It was actually Trey Mooney. I just got that wrong. So Trey Mooney goes to Simbin and is also on report. And with that, in the 76th minute, Tani Tupuiki gets the penalty over to make it 32-12. And in the 80th minute, Luke Hanson scores on his NRL debut for the Warriors. Jackson Ford getting the conversion over to the Warriors, beating Newcastle 38 points to 12. What a game. The Warriors are now 3 and over. What a game it was indeed. Then the next game after that was the Sharks v the Dolphins. Now the Sharks beating the Dolphins 38 points to 10, the full-time score. So this is how the game went. So 20 minutes into the game, Jake Averillo scores a try for the Dolphins, with Jermaine Asako missing the conversion. So it's now 4-0 Dolphins. Then in the 27th minute, the Sharks score a try. Samuel Stone Street scores a try, with Nico Hines missing the conversion. So it's now 4-all between the Sharks and the Dolphins. Then in the 31st minute, Jermaine Asako scores a try, with him converting his own try. So it's now 10-4 to the Dolphins over the Cronulla Sharks. Then just before halftime, in the 39th minute, Hamisal Tabao Vidal scores a try for the Dolphins, with Jaden Asako getting the conversion over. So the halftime score was 16-4 to the Dolphins against the Sharks. Then the second half got underway, and 10 minutes into the second half, in the 50th minute, Braden Trindle scores a try for the Sharks, with Nico Hines getting the conversion over. So it's now 16-10. Cronulla now trailing by 6. Then in the 56th minute, Jermaine Asako gets a penalty over for the Dolphins to make 18 points to 10. So now the Fins lead by 8. And then in the 70th minute, Jermaine Asako gets another penalty over to make it 20 points to 10. And then in the 75th minute, Jake Averillo scores a second try for the Dolphins, with Jermaine Asako getting the conversion over. So it's now 26-10 to the Dolphins over the Sharks. And then, 2 minutes later, in the 77th minute, Salwan Cobo scores a try for the Dolphins, with Jermaine Asako getting the conversion over. So just late into the second half, the Dolphins were just rolling away with this win. So it's now 32-10. And then just before full time in the 80th minute, Connolly scores a try for the Dolphins, with Jermaine Asako getting the conversion over. So the full-time score, 38-10, the Dolphins over the Sharks. The next game was the Rabbitohs versus the West Tigers. Now, the Rabbitohs beating the West Tigers in a tight game, 20 points to 16. So the Rabbitohs bounced back from their loss against the Roosters last week. But it's not a game. So 4 minutes into the game, Jai Gray scores a try for the Rabbitohs, with Latrell Mitchell getting conversion over. So it's now 6-0 to the Rabbitohs against the West Tigers. Then in the 8th minute, Jake Winnington gets a try for Rabbitohs. So the Rabbitohs scored 2 tries in the first 10 minutes, with Latrell Mitchell getting the conversion over. So 10 minutes into the game, it was 12-0 to the Rabbitohs against the Tigers. So it was a bad start for the Tigers there. And then in the 37th minute, Samialo Fainu scores a try for the West Tigers, with Anaduia getting the conversion over. So it's now 12-6 to the Rabbitohs over the West Tigers. Then just before halftime, in the 40th minute, Emisal Makasini scores a try for the West Tigers, with Adam Duia getting the conversion over to make it 12-all. So basically, 10 minutes The first 10 minutes, Souths had to lead 12 points in there. And then the West Tigers, they got 2 tries to make a halftime score level to make it 12 all. And then, sorry, to make it 14-12. So basically, the West Tigers, they were trailing by 12 points, but then at halftime, they lead 14-12. Then the second half got underway, and into the second half, in the 52nd minute, Latrell Mitchell scores a try, with Latrell Mitchell missing his own conversion try to make it 16-14. And then in the 56th minute, Adam Dewey gets a penalty over for the West Tigers to make it 16 all. So it was 16 all with 23 minutes to go. So this game was going to come down to the wire. And then in the 67th minute, Alex Johnston scores a try for the Rabbitohs with the Latrell Mitchell missing the conversion. So the Rabbitohs beating the Tigers 20 points to 16. So what a super Thursday it was indeed. Then we move on to the next game, which was the Eels versus the Dragons. Now the Eels beating the Dragons 30 points to 20. But this is how the game went. So 3 minutes into the game, the Dragons get a penalty, and Valentine Holmes gets the penalty over to make it 2-0 to the Dragons. Then the 10th minute, Jonah Peasant scores a try for Parramatta, with Mitchell Moses getting the conversion over. So it's now 6-2 to Parramatta over the Dragons. Then the 12th minute, Luciano Leilua scores a try for the Dragons, with Valentine Holmes getting the conversion over. So it's now 8-6. Dragons have their lead back. Then the 23rd minute, Jaden Suya scores a try for the Dragons, with Valentine Holmes getting the conversion over. So now the Dragons extend their lead to 8 points, 14 points to 6. Then the 27th minute, Ryan Couchman goes on the send men. So basically, the Dragons were down to 12 men for the next 10 minutes. Then with that, in the 34th minute, the Talian De Silva scores a try for Parramatta, with Mitchell Moses getting the conversion over. So the Parramatta trail now down by 2. And then in the 38th minute, Katoni Kalponga scores a try for Parramatta, with Mitchell Moses getting the conversion over. So basically, Parramatta scored 2 tries in the last 10 minutes of the first half to lead 18-14 at halftime. Then the second half got underway, and into the second half in the 44th minute, Talian De Silva scores the second try for Parramatta in this game, with Mitchell Moses getting the conversion over to make it 24-14. So now the Parramatta were putting a bit of pressure on the Dragons. And then in the 55th minute, Charlie Gainer goes to the sin bin for 10. So he was in the bin for 10. So basically, Parramatta were now down to 12 men. Then, with that, in the 56th minute, the Dragons, Moses Suili scores a try for the Dragons, with Valentine Holmes getting the conversion over. So with like 20 minutes to go, Dragons were only trailing by 4. And then in the 72nd minute, Josh Adokar scores a try for Parramatta, with Mitchell Moses getting the conversion over. So the full-time score, the Eels winning 30 points to 20 against the Dragons. The Eels getting their first win of the season. And then the final game of an absolute entertaining round 3 of footy was the Cowboys versus the Titans. Now, both teams started the season 0-2. So one of these teams were going to get the first win of the season. And guess what it was? It was the North Queensland Cowboys getting their first win of the season, with the Titans going to 0-3 now, but the Cowboys beating the Titans 30 points to 16. But this is how the game went. So 7 minutes into the game, Murray Chaulangi scores a try for the Cowboys, with Jake Clifford getting conversion over. So 8 minutes into the game, it was 6-0 to the Cowboys. Then 7 minutes later, in the 14th minute, Jaden Campbell scores a try for the Titans, with Jaden Campbell converting his own try to make it 6-all. So we were level with 15 minutes into the game. Then about 4 minutes later, in the 19th minute, Jaden Campbell scores a back-to-back tries for the Titans, with Jaden Campbell missing the conversion. So now the Titans were leading 10 points to 6. Then in the 23rd minute, Murray Chaulangi scores a try for the Cowboys, with Jake Clifford missing the conversion. So now we were level all, 10 all. But the first 4 tries were scored by a player that scored 2 tries. So Murray Chaulangi scored 2 tries, and Jaden Campbell scored 2 tries. And then in the 28th minute, Scott Drinkwater scores a try with Jake Clifford getting the conversion of the Cowboys take back their lead 16 points to 10. And then just before halftime in the 33rd minute, Jackson Purdue scores a try for the Cowboys with Jake Clifford getting the conversion over. So 22-10, the Cowboys leading over the Titans at halftime. Then in the second half, 1 minute into the second half, Curtis Morin scores a try for the Titans with Jaden Campbell getting the conversion over. So now the Titans are now only trailing by 22 points to 16. A great start to the second half for the Titans. But then in the 58th minute, the Cowboys get a penalty and Jake Clifford gets the penalty over to make the Titans now trail by 8. It was 24-16. And then in the 60th minute, Jake Clifford scores a try for the Cowboys with Jake Clifford getting the conversion over to make it 30 points to 16. And then with 5 minutes to go, Tom Chester goes into the bin for the rest of the game. So the Cowboys were down to 12 men for the rest of the game with Tom Chester going to the bin, but that didn't really help the Titans out because the Cowboys beat the Titans 30 points to 16. But man, what a round one we have seen indeed. It was just an absolute entertaining round three of footy. But thanks everyone so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button, and comment down below what you thought of round three. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.